Hi, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It's nice to have you here. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I've been doing for the last 3 weeks, which is titled Swedish death cleaning. And it is something that is useful for our personal growth and our lifestyle, and also for decluttering purposes. And I actually didn't recognize that I was actually doing something that was already something people did when I started it. So I'm going to shout out to Rossi, who told me exactly what I was doing and why I'm making this video. So I have been weeding out a lot of things in my life, and a lot of them are what I would consider to be a heavy load. So these things can accumulate that you don't even realize you have. And when you have boxes that are sitting stagnant in a room for over 4 years and you don't need anything in them, then you recognize that you've got a bit of a problem and you need to release them. So I made the decision back in January to get a dumpster in my house, outside my house, and work on stuff that was in the garage, which was all moldy, and there's mice feces and urine, and it's really awful because I live out in the country. And I started working on it then. Then I did not feel well because I was suffering from a long-term situation health-wise. So I had them take the dumpster back, but I had gotten rid of some things and asked them to bring it back in May when the weather was more agreeable and when I might have more ability to do the work that I wanted to do. I was fortunate to have a very nice lady tell me a lot about the feng shui in my house and how I was blocking my good in that section of the house, of which I thought, well, this probably is very true because the windows were blocked off. There was no light in there, and it was very crowded and just stagnant energy, nothing moving. So I decided one day I got up and I decided to start taking care of stuff and pulling stuff out and looking at it, donating it or throwing it away if it was destroyed. And within the 3-week period where I had the dumpster, I was able to get rid of at least 30 yards of stuff that were weighing us down, really weighing us down. Could I probably do more? Probably. A lot of people think that at my age, it might be that I've accumulated all this stuff over a lifetime. And there are some things that I've had most of my life. But for the most part, I've already had an estate sale back in 2015. And we pretty much had given up all but like 10 by 12 storage unit of what we had. So everything had been accumulated from 2015 until now that I couldn't find. I'd be looking for it. I'd go buy another one. And nothing that was of any importance to anybody if anything happened to me. All just stuff. So if you've ever wondered what it would be like and what would happen to all your belongings if you were gone tomorrow, think about how important the things that you take care of or you invest your time and money in are important to other people. Most of the time, you hear of a situation where someone passes, they get a dumpster in or whatever, and everything, or they go to the dump and everything is thrown away. And there's really not a lot left over. And although there may be things in a will that say this should go to this person, this should go to that person, you can't do that with everything in your world. And so if you have something that you think someone might enjoy, and I don't care what age you are, that you really liked and you really wanted, but now it doesn't really resonate with you, this is the time to declutter and do that kind of release. And it feels wonderful. It really, really does. So you clear the clutter, you keep the stories, and you leave a legacy that you're taking care of things before they actually need to be taken care of, but you're also lightening the load and you're not feeling all that clutter all around you and being unable sort of to move around. So a Swedish death cleaning is the process of gradually sorting through every belonging you've ever had. And in doing so, you decide what to keep, what to donate, what to gift, and what to discard. The goal is absolutely simple. Reduce the clutter, keep meaningful items, let's say family items that somebody might want. In my case, it was my father's diaries, and I'm going to actually burn all of mine. I don't really want to leave them behind. And share important possessions with loved ones who may really like something now, and you get to see them like it and know they're enjoying it while you're still around. It also preserves family stories and memories and avoids leaving a burden for any family members, especially if you're talking about somebody that lives far away. Because if they have to fly in to your funeral and handle that and everything else, that's difficult. A lot of people live far away from each other, more so than they have in the past. And we collect more than we ever have in the past. It's not just for seniors. People of all ages can benefit with living with greater intention. So you're looking at something and you're saying, what is my intention to hang on to this particular thing? Does it bring me joy? Does it bring me harmony? Is it something that I could live without? Is it something that I've had stored away forever? You could even look at fancy dishes and fancy crystal and fancy silverware that's silver. And if you're not using it every single day, why do you have it? I'm not suggesting everybody is going to be able to do this as well, because it is a little bit difficult in order to make that decision. There are a lot of people who feel very conflicted about it, especially if it was something that was handed down to you by family. You don't want to get rid of it. So you may want to consider this approach if your closets are overfilled. One of the things that they have said is if you haven't worn something in the season of that year, then you probably don't need it anymore. Now, I recognize, ladies and some gentlemen, that we may lose weight and we may want to have something of a bigger or a smaller size kept behind. But this is something you can do monthly with the leftover stuff. And you can make a trip to the thrift shop with a load any single time you want. But the big stuff in this death cleansing is getting all of that extraneous stuff gone immediately in order for it to work. Some of you may have storage spaces that are packed with boxes like I had in my room. I had things from Keith's office when we closed his office that were just sitting in the garage. Some of it really was horrible, stuff that got packed very quickly. Even some parts that were food that were from, 2 or 3 years ago. Disgusting. Things that you own, but you haven't touched them in years. Family heirlooms that have no history, or you just feel overwhelmed with clutter. And I would say that all of these things are things that I was dealing with. So death cleaning encourages us to ask the question, do I really need this? What purpose does it serve in my life today? Now, if it's something that means a lot to you, then you don't want to get rid of it. It's perfectly fine. No one's saying you have to do any of this, but it's very liberating if you can come and work on this. It also helps for people who are moving away and they're lightening their load. They're moving to a new place and they don't have, lots of storage there, or they don't have the room in a truck to take something. Questions to ask yourself when you're doing the sorting. Does this item still have a purpose? Do I actually use it, or have I ever used it? Is it important, or is it the memory? Could I preserve it without keeping the item? Maybe take a picture of it. Maybe take a video of it and talk about it. That's fine. Is there someone who would appreciate this more than I do? And that's what I came to the conclusion of with a lot of sewing materials. Somebody else will appreciate that more than I did because I don't have the time to do it. And it's all there. It's all brand new. There is an emotional side to letting things go if you allow yourself to wallow in those emotions. The most powerful parts are the opportunity to revisit your life story, whether it be X amount of years or a decade of your life that you may have accumulated information and things like I did. Old photographs, letters and souvenirs, and family treasures often bring back memories that deserve to be shared. And so many of us have probably said in the past, I wish I hadn't thrown this away. I wish I hadn't given it away. But in times of turmoil, sometimes we're in a rush. This is meant for us to sit with it and work with it and know that we can make conscious choices. It isn't forced upon us. We're not having to deal with, a fight or flight situation here. Instead of keeping everything, consider perhaps a memory book. Consider recording your family stories, labeling your photographs, writing down your history, passing items directly to loved ones. Much like we have the ancestry we can keep our ancestry on the computer, we can take pictures of things and keep them on the computer as well. And they cost nothing for us to store, unless we're, of course, needing extra storage for that. But that's still cheaper than a storage unit with stuff in it. The goal is to preserve the story, not every object. Some people who practice death cleaning report that they feel less stressed. They feel more organized in being able to find the things that they're looking for. A greater appreciation for meaningful possessions. In other words, I really love this possession that belonged to my mother or my father or my aunt or my cousin or my grandparent, and reminds me of them and brings me great joy. And you don't need 25 of those if you've got one really good one. Choose intentionally what stays and what goes, and you create a home filled with purpose, not just clutter. There are a lot of people in the generations now we're seeing don't like knickknacks and clutter. They don't want older people's stuff. They are going to be the primary people that will throw things away that they have no use for. And when I had an estate sale, my daughter told me, I don't want any of your stuff. I don't want your dining room set. I don't want, and I had no idea. I don't think we ever really know. So she did want a few things at that time, and I did give her some of those things, but she didn't take a lot. She just took a little bit of what she wanted. So there is a misnomer that this is a creation of preparation for death. And unfortunately, in my mother's case, it was considered by her to be her death cleansing. She took things off the wall. She gave things away to people who were insulted for getting them back from her. She felt like they felt like she didn't like what they gave her or whatever. And she was preparing herself to die at the time because she didn't want to live anymore. She did not kill herself, but she died of a broken heart. So, we may think, oh, well, only old people, only people that think they're going to die, only those who are feeling melancholy or depressed are the people that do it. But this is not the case. Death cleaning is not preparing to die. It's choosing how you want to live. Every item we release makes room for something that matters the most. Our relationships, our stories, the legacy that we leave behind. And it also helps us with movement in our home, of changing things around, of finding what it is that matters to you that may not have mattered to you before. And of course, you've got a full garage of things, or you've got other things that you're paying money for in order to keep, things that don't work anymore, things you're going to fix, things you might need and I think it's really difficult because there are people who do not want to give anything away because they might need it later. And that's sort of a sense of urgency that we had when we were younger, where we were told that the scarcity mindset. In other words, we were told that, you better keep this because this might happen. And so we prepared in that way for everything. There's a lady I know that used to drink all the pickle juice out of her pickle jar because during the war, there was no waste of anything. They used everything. And so this became a sort of a scarcity idea that if I don't drink that pickle juice, even now, that I'm not appreciating what it is that I have. And this is not the case. This should not make you feel bad. This should make you feel very, very good. There's something about lightening up the load that just really, when they drove away with that whole dumpster full of things, and when Keith brought in all those bags of things for other people to have at Goodwill, there was a sense of accomplishment. There was a sense of peace. There was a sense of harmony. And so it is something that is considerable and can really help people who are feeling like they're just overwhelmed with stuff and they have no room to grow because of it. Even a closet you can start with, or a set of drawers. Are you wearing those clothes still? Are those clothes just hanging there, taking up room? How are you going to fit anything new in? Just a new way of looking at something. Thanks, everybody. Please like and subscribe to my channel and leave a message in the chat. That would be wonderful. I appreciate you coming by and listening, and have a beautiful day wherever you are. Bye-bye.